This is a meeting of the Streets and Sidewalks Committee. To my right is Councilwoman Lynn Snee. To my left is Councilman Samuel Pierce, and I'm Bob Phillips, the chair of the committee. We have a couple of items this evening, and our first one is we're here to hear a staff report regarding an ODOT final legislation on resurfacing a portion of East Main Street from Mulberry to the East Corporation limit. And Mr. Titterington.
Sure. This is the final piece of legislation that ODOT requires. Back in December, you approved the preliminary consent legislation. This is a repaving program, or repaving project. We are responsible for approximately 40% of the total project costs, and we are, because it is ODOT legislation, asking for emergency consideration.
The estimate of the $420,000, that's just coming out of your office, Mrs. Rhodes? That estimate? I mean, the general first estimate?
It's coming out, like, it's, ODOT reviewed it, and so it's an estimate, yeah, that our engineers put together, the total cost estimate, and then taken into consideration when we submitted the application, what our portion, our share was going to be, the 40%. Then it's just that calculation from the total.
Was this portion anywhere on our list where we're graded, you know, all of the streets that we have grades on? Was this on our list to do?
Yes, and because these streets become, the major thoroughfares become so wide and they need to be paved more frequently than the residential, the smaller streets, less traveled, we typically either try to go urban paving through ODOT, or we try to apply for STP resurfacing funds. So anything that kind of involves ODOT funds, so that we can pay for it.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I have. Either of you two have questions? No. That's a no. Correct. Okay. No. Okay. Any other council folks have any questions on this item? Anyone else in the audience have any questions on this item? Seeing none, what is your feeling with this?
Move forward with emergency.
Okay. It is unanimous with the committee to move forward with legislation, preparing that for ODOT as staff is recommending.
As emergency.
I'm sorry?
As emergency.
And emergency, yes. All right, moving along to our second item, we have the authorization to bid and award our 2023 paving program. Again, Mr. Titter.
Sure. So this is our annual program. It was approved in the 2023 budget at a cost of $1.5 million for the roads, and then the local roads, and $20,000 for sections of Riverside Cemetery out of the 672 Cemetery Fund. We are asking for authorization to advertise for bids. In your packet, you will see a long list of street sections that are rated typically most poorest, but there may be timing issues so that we stay behind and not ahead of any other kind of utility work that we know is going to go on. Nonetheless, you do see a list of 15.7 lane miles of recommended roads to repave. By comparison, in 2022, it was 13.7 lane miles. And you'll see in the recommendation report that we are starting to see with other community bids, the price of asphalt continues to rise, and so if we will award up to the $1.5 million, and by doing that, then there are a series of roads sections that may not get done and pushed into the next year, and those would start at the bottom of the attached list and not the top.
Work up from there.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
And we are not asking for emergency legislation.
So because I don't have my hearing aids in, was that most poorest or
I
porous?
was almost going to say most poor, but then I decided on porous. So
I-
you can take most poor if you'd like.
Okay, gotcha. I don't have any questions, either one.
I think that answered my question.
That's it.
Any other council folks have any questions or comments on this item? Anyone else in the audience have any comments or questions on the item? Seeing none, how, do you wish to proceed with this?
Move forward, staff's recommended.
It's unanimous with the committee to move forward as staff is recommending. Are there any other items to come before Streets and Sidewalks? Then we are adjourned. Thank you all for attending.